talking about prosperity and the costs, like Platinum and Colony, Platinum gives you the buying power. I'm streaming, right? Yeah, I clicked. Okay. Platinum gives you the buying power to get these more expensive cards like Bank, Expand, Forge, all these big cost cards, Grand Market, Goons, Horde. Um, they give you the coin to buy these. Platinum does, and that is a card that's added with Prosperity, with the Prosperity expansion. Um, I like the card. I like Platinum a lot. Uh, usually, I usually am really bad about learning when to buy it and when to focus on other things like provinces. I usually go for a colony rush in those games to try and get as many platinums as I can, and then buy colonies. Um, you know what? Let's do a colony game. We're gonna do a colony game with some of the cards from Prosperity, some of the simpler cards. Let's look at. Oh boy, now a lot of these are simple to explain because a lot of these. Um, a lot of these actually factor in. Yeah, we'll talk about additional victory points with Monument. Workers' Village is a good village. We'll grab Peddler to show that in action. I like Goons, but I don't want to get hit by Goons. We'll add it. Grand Market has an interesting feature to it. Bank. So yeah, like if we go back to base and we look, all of these cards that should be in the base 10, these action cards, we already talked about reaction cards being in the supply. We already talked about victory cards being in the supply. Treasure cards can also be in the supply. Contraband, Loan, Horde, Talisman, Bank, which we're going to be adding. These can all be part of the 10 that you have in a set. We're going to add a couple from Intrigue too. We're going to talk about not only treasure cards being in the set and alternate victory points, but now we're also going to talk about split cards. And we're going to do that with Harem, Mill, Nobles. I think that's a good set. Get out of here. I think that's a good set. We'll try this. We'll see if I can explain this. So now you can see Platinum. Platinum is worth, it gives you 5 currency. It's 9 coin to add to your deck. Colony, 10 victory points. It's a victory card. It's 11 coin to add to your deck. The other things I want to make note of are well, we don't actually have any good 3s. I guess we'll just get silver. What was I talking about? I was talking about victory points. Some cards in Prosperity, we're looking at Prosperity first, which is probably a bad idea. We should probably start with Intrigue, which is basically an expansion on the base set. There's not a whole lot more in Intrigue that is too complicated, but we're starting with Prosperity because I mentioned Platinum and Colony. We're going a little bit all over the place here today. Monument is an action card. You play it. You don't get any cards or actions, so it is a terminal action, meaning that if you don't have any additional actions, if you only have one action when you play a Monument, it's going to end your turn. It's going to give 2 coin, so it's going to be like a silver that you're playing with. It's also going to give you a victory point. Excuse me. These victory points are not related to victory cards. So just because it says +1 victory point, you're not going to be like gaining an estate and having that in your card. Like this victory point is going to be added to your total down here, and it's going to stay with you for the entirety of the game. I was going to go somewhere with that, and it's absolutely slipping my mind here. When you play with these additional victory points, or alternate victory points, or alt VP, as some people call them, in the real game, outside of like online, you mark them with little silver tokens that are like little shields that have numbers on them. So if you played a Monument, you would take a shield that is marked with 1. And eventually you would cash in like 5-1 shields for a 5 shield. Let me try and look up Dominion VP markers so that I can show exactly what I'm talking about. Images. Okay, this is what they look like early. So you would, if you played Monument, you get a victory point. You'd take one of these. If you had if you had two with you, you could trade them in for a two. Like the fives and the 25s, you're usually not going to be using all that much, but they do give, but they're basically just trading it in. So like if in Monopoly you were trading in five $100 bills for a $500 bill, that would be the same thing as trading in five victory point markers for a 25 victory point marker. You're just trading them in to conserve the tokens essentially. Um, Goons is going to give you one victory point when you buy a card while it's in play. It's also an attack card. Each other player discards down to 3 cards in hand. So it's like Militia. It's going to give you 2 coins and it's going to give you the discard attack, but it also gives you a buy, just in case you want to buy a second card. And while it's in play, when you buy a card, you get 1 victory point. So if you just play 1 Goons and you play 4 coppers and you buy 2 cards that are worth 3, like 2 silvers maybe, you're going to get 2 victory points because this Goons is in play. That's why it's so expensive at 6. It's a Militia plus 1 buy that bumps it up to 5, and while it's in play, when you buy a card, you get 1 victory point. That bumps up to 6. Peddler, like I said, during your buy phase, it costs less because of action cards that you have in your hand. Workers' Village is Village plus 1 buy. That's why it costs 1 extra. Vault is good draw. It gives you 2 cards. You can discard a number of cards for plus 1 each, which means that those victory cards that are in your hand, they actually have some benefit. So if you play Vault and you draw 2 estates, you can discard them both and get 1 coin for each. However, the drawback is each other player may discard 2 cards to draw a card. So you're also helping out your opponent with their hand. Split cards are what I like to call these 3, Mill, Harem, and Nobles. They are cards that have 2 types. So usually we're playing with Copper, Silver, Gold, Platinum. Those are treasure cards. Estate, Duchy, Province, Colony. Those are victory cards. Victory cards are green. Treasure cards are yellow. This one's green and yellow. It's a combination. It's treasure and victory. So it gives you 2 coin, much like a silver, but it also gives you 2 victory points at the end of the game. So it's basically worth 2 estates and a silver mashed into 1 card. You put 2 estates and a silver and blend them up, you get a harem. Treasure and victory. This really isn't all that good for the price. 6 is a little bit high, but 5 is pretty low. You'd almost always want to get this over a duchy if it was 5. So it's not really that great of a card. Nobles is the card that we're going to be looking at a lot this time through. It's an action victory card. So you get 2 victory points from it at the end of your turn, but you also get to play it as an action. And during this action phase, you can choose one. You can plus 3 cards, so basically you're using it as a smithy, or you can do plus 2 actions. If you have 2 nobles in your hand, you're going to want to take the plus 2 actions first, and then play the second nobles, and choose the plus 3 cards. That way you're drawing, and you have an additional action to play any action cards that you draw. Mill is an action victory as well. It's a cantrip, plus 1 card and plus 1 action, and you may, it's optional, discard 2 cards for plus 2 coins. So it's kind of like Vault, but in order to get the coin, you have to actually discard 2. You also get a victory point. It's also worth an estate at the end of the game. The other card, there are 2 other cards I wanted. Well, we're going to be looking at all of them anyhow. So Grand Market, it's like Market. However, it gives you plus 2 coins instead of plus 1 coin. So that bumps it up to 6. Here's the catch. You can't buy this if you have any coppers in play. Well, how do you buy this? Well, if you have a platinum and a silver in play, that's 7 coin. You could buy a Grand Market. You just have to keep those coppers in your hand if you want the Grand Market. Bank is a treasure. When you play it, it's worth 1 per treasure you have in play, counting this. So if you have 5 coppers in play and you play a bank as well, this thing right here is going to be worth 6. It's going to be worth even more than a platinum. That's going to be kind of rare to happen. We're going to try and draw all of our cards using Grand Markets and Nobles in this one. Maybe Peddler too. We'll throw a Goons in there for good measure. Maybe a Workers' Village early. We're going to start off with a silver though, because there's no action cards that are worth 3. These are sorted, by the way, in case you haven't noticed in the first couple of streams. These are sorted by cost. I think after that they're sorted alphabetically. Goons, Grand Market, Harem, Nobles. Yeah, they're sorted alphabetically after cost. So first they're sorted by cost, The 4 cards are first, Mill, Monument, Workers' Village, then the 5 cards Vault, then the 6 cards Goons, Grand Market, Harem, and Nobles, then the 7 card Bank, and the 8 card Peddler. For 4, we're going to open with Monument so I can show off these victory points. It's also going to give us good currency. We'll grab a Mill. So now this Mill is already affecting us. We've got an extra victory point over Lord Rattington, because both of us still have all 3 of our estates. We haven't trashed any yet. In fact, I don't think there's any trashing in this. Yeah, there's no trashing in this kingdom, so that's a little yikes. But we have an extra VP because we have that Mill in our hand. Or, not in our hand, but in our deck. We're going to play our Monument and play up to 6 coin. As you can see now, our victory point tracker starting to track. So I would have taken a marker or a little shield that would have given me 1 victory point. So now we're up to 5 victory points because we have 3 estates, 1 mill, and 1 victory point from Monument. I'm going to lose track of that very quickly, so I'm not going to be able to tell you where all the victory points are coming from, but we're going to pick up a Nobles for 2 more victory points. So now we're up to 7. We don't need to play Nobles here because if we draw, we won't be able to play the Monument. And if we use our actions, we'll be able to play the Monument, but we won't draw anything else. So we're just going to straight up play the Monument and play 4 coins, and we're going to get a Workers' Village. Workers' Village will help us because if we draw that with Monument, we can draw a card first, play Monument, and then play any other additional cards after, like maybe a Nobles if we have it. Okay, so our opponent is playing a Vault. They're drawing 2 cards. They discarded, how many cards did they? They discarded 4 other cards in a copper. Holy cow. So they got 5 coins. It doesn't tell us what, I'll get to that in a second. So we got 5 coins, and now it's asking me, do you want to discard 2 cards to draw a card? It's saying may. So I don't have to discard. I am going to discard because I've got 2 estates here. So I'm going to discard both of those. One thing, it says discards 4 other cards. If you're discarding multiple cards at once, and you don't want to show your opponent which cards they are, you only have to show the top one because that's the top card of your discard pile. But you don't have to show these other 4 cards. I think they were probably just estates or coppers. I don't think that he's actually like preventing me from gaining any information here. He just discarded them all at once, and the client said, "Hey, we're only going to show you the copper." So we're going to discard those 2 estates and hopefully draw a better card, which we did. We drew a mill. So we're able to play the mill. We're not going to discard 2 cards. We could discard 2 coppers and gain 2 coin, but it's just going to be the same as if we played them. So we're not going to discard. We're instead going to play 5 coin, and I don't know what to get. Vault would be good draw. Workers' Village, we already have one of those. We could get another mill. A mill or Monument, I think, is the play. I think we'll get a Monument. I also want to point out something. You'll notice that a lot of the action cards, all the action cards start at 10. So do treasures if they're in the supply. They start at 10 cards per pile. Victory cards of any kind, estates, duchies, provinces, colonies, mill, harem, nobles, they all are going to start at 8 in a 2-player game. I believe it's if you have 3 or 4 players, there are 12. So there's more victory cards in a pile than there would be action cards in a pile. That's just the rules of the game. It's just balancing purposes. So 1 mill's already been taken by me. A nobles has been taken by me. He hasn't gained any additional victory cards. He's still stuck at 3. We're going to play our nobles and dead draw or Monument, unfortunately. And we'll pick up another nobles. So we're racking up our victory points as we're picking up these nobles and mills that are helping us. We're going to discard 2 estates because of Vault. So we're going to start with 4 cards instead of 5 normally. We're not going to discard anything. We're just going to play our Workers' Village normally and our Monument. And we're going to hit 5. We're going to pick up another silver, I think. Yeah. I think that's the play. We're not going to spend anything. We're not going to spend those 2 coins anywhere. We're going to hit 7, and we're going to pick up a bank because I want to show that one off. We'll play our mill, discard our estates, Workers' Village, Monuments, game. There we go. We're going to hit 5. We're hitting 5 a lot. I think we should get a vault for the draw. We're just getting all sorts of stuff. We're not going to discard this time. I think our coppers are fine. We don't really have a lot of treasures in our hand that would really benefit us to discard coppers. Or in our deck, not our hand. We're going to discard an estate and a copper. Because now this estate is actually worth something. So if it was 2 coppers that we were discarding, it's just going to be the same as if we played 2 coppers during our turn. But discarding an estate gives it some value. We're going to play our monument. And we're going to hit 7 again. Take a look at Peddler. Look at Peddler right now. It's worth 0 because we played 4 action cards during our turn. And during your buy phase, this costs 2 less per action card you have. So for each one of these, 2, 4, 6, 8, that brought the cost down to 0. It won't go any less than 0. It's not going to give you coin for buying it. But it will go down to 0. We have 7, so we're not going to buy it. It's not really worth it at this point. We're just going to get another bank. We don't want to discard. We're good. So we have only 1 action card, which is Monument. We're going to play it. And then Bank is worth 1 per treasure you have in play. So if I played it right now, it would only be worth 2 because it would be counting the silver and the bank. If we play another silver, though, this thing's going to go up in value. So there's 3. If I play it right now, there would be 3 treasures in play, the 2 silvers and the bank. This thing would now be worth 3 instead of 2. Now it's worth 4 because we added another copper. So now we played our bank for 4 and we hit 11. We're not going to buy a colony just because it's a little bit early to buy a colony. We're going to take a platinum. Platinum will help us get grand markets, which will be good to help us buy other grand markets and peddlers. We want to discard 2 estates here. Thank you. We're going to play our workers village first so that we can get the 2 actions and then play our vault. We're going to discard a estate for a coin. And we're probably going to dead draw some actions here. That's like, oh, we didn't. Oh, feels good. So a lot of our actions are still in our deck, which is really good for our next turn. We're going to play all of those coin. Actually, you know what? Undo that. We're going to show off Grand Market. So in order to do that, we can't have any coppers in play. So we're going to play 8. I don't know why I played the silver. It doesn't gain us anything. We're going to get a Grand Market, but we can't buy it if we have any coppers in play. So we're keeping these coppers in our hands so that we can buy that Grand Market. End our buys, we don't need it. Okay, so they bought and gained a Grand Market as well. There's no use in playing our nobles here, so we're just gonna straight up play our monument and 3 coppers. We're gonna hit 5 again, unfortunately. We're gonna pick up another mill, I think. He's at 16 VP right now. He's been buying provinces. He's bought 2 already. That brought him up to 12. I think he has a mill. That's the only thing that makes sense to me because we have both of the nobles. No one bought any harems. And he bought 2 provinces. So he would be up to 12, 13, 14, 15 with his estates. So yeah, he must have bought a mill. He bought a mill at some point. I don't remember when. They're asking us to discard for vault. I don't think we need to. I think we're going to be okay. We're going to draw, we're going to use mill, and now we're going to discard our estates. And then we'll play our monument, and silver, and we'll play a bank as well. We're going to pick up if we had 2 buys, we could pick up 2 peddlers here, which would be nice, but we're just going to take a Grand Market. We would like to discard 2 cards because of vault, thank you very much. And we'll probably dead draw some actions here. Yeah, we dead drew Workers Village and Vault. That copper wasn't worth it, I don't think. Platinum, copper, bank. We would have hit 9 if we had not drawn with nobles, I think. And we have 11. We could go for a colony right here, but it's so close in VP, and it's not even close to the end of the game. Provinces are not empty. So we're just going to buy another platinum. I want to point out, now that I talked about the end of the game, games with colonies have an additional game ending condition. I talked about if provinces are empty or if there's 3 piles of any kind that are empty, the game ends, right? If the colonies are empty, the game ends as well. So colonies run out, provinces run out, or 3 piles of any kind run out. Those are the three game-ending conditions when colonies are in play. I don't think we want to well, yeah, I don't think we want to discard here. We could draw, being pretty risky here, because one of these monuments is just dead, right? We can't play both monuments here during our turn this is really risky, but if we draw a nobles or a worker or our workers village, excuse me, which we drew last turn, which is not great. If we draw our other nobles here, then maybe we'll be able to play both monuments. Otherwise, one of them is just dead in the water. I'm not going to discard. I think that, let's see, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That would give us Peddler, at the very least. So I think we're still fine. Yeah, we didn't draw anything, so we're going to actually discard that monument so we can actually get some gain out of it. And we have 8 with 2 buys. I want another Grand Market. Grand Markets are nice. I like them a lot. They chain together really well. Unfortunately, he's got a lot of them too, so I can't really do a whole lot with them. And we dead drew that Grand Market, unfortunately. We have 2 buys, though, so we are actually going to pick up another Nobles and a Peddler, which is now costing 2 for that turn. I don't want to discard because we actually have a really good hand for Bank. We're going to play our Monument, get another victory point. Look at all these victory points that we have. This is all just from Monument, I think. We don't have any goons. So, yeah, all of these victory points are just from playing Monuments. So we only have 11 victory points in actual victory cards. I know we have 3 Nobles, 2, 4, 6. And I think we have 2 mills, 7, 8. And then 9, 10, 11 would be our 3 estates. We haven't even bought any of these victory cards that are worth something, like Colony and Province. We haven't even bought any of them, and we're still keeping up with him. Just because of all these victory points from Monuments and the Alt VP from Nobles and Mill. It's good. Feels good. Okay, we're going to hit 14 here, and we're actually going to buy another Platinum. Usually I might take a Colony here, but because it's so close. Okay, he got a Province, which is not great. We'll play Vault, and we'll discard all of those because the Workers' Village is just a dead draw. We're going to pick up a Goons here. I do want to show off Goons. We're not going to discard. We're fine. I do want to show off Goons before the end of the game, and I'm hoping we do. I'm glad we get to show off the chain of Nobles. So we had 2 Nobles here. We're going to use the first one for actions, second one for cards, and now that we drew actual actions, we can continue to play them. If we had just drawn 3 cards with the first Nobles, I think we would have drawn these, so we would have been okay, but if they were dead draw like Monument or Goons, we wouldn't be able to use them. So we're playing Grand Market, we're playing Mill. We don't need to discard. We're going to play another Grand Market and a Monument. Look at that. We have 4 buys and 9 coins. We're starting to chain these together. You really want to build up a good engine. Look at that, 19. That is beautiful. Beautiful 19. We could buy 4 peddlers if we wanted to. Unfortunately, we can't buy any Grand Markets because we have coppers in play. That was a misstep on my part. I should have seen if we wanted to buy a Grand Market, but I think we're going to be okay. What do we want to do here? I'm thinking Colony just to stay caught up with him. Then we have 8 and additional buys. We could go like a Vault Silver, but I'm not sure that would help us too much. I think we're going to have to leave money on the table somewhere. So I think we're going to just pick up another Nobles. I think that's the play. And then our remaining 2 buys, we don't want to stay at Copper Curses. We're going to pick up 2 Peddlers. Those cantrips will be nice for us. We're going to discard both estates. Thank you, Vault. We're going to play our Mill. We're not going to discard anything. Unfortunately, we have to dead draw all of these actions, including our Goons, which I wanted to show off. That's too bad. We'll pick up another Nobles. We could have bought a province there, but because it's running low, we kind of want him to take the provinces and slow him down while we try and get the colonies. We'll play our Workers' Village and our Peddler Market. We still have 2 actions from the Workers' Village. And these are all cantrips, so I can play my nobles now. Do I want the draw or do I want the monument? Let's think this out for a second. If we play monument, right? We get 2 coin plus the 4 here. That would be 6, 7, 8, 9, and this would be worth 3 because of the 3 coppers. So that would be 12 with 3 buys. If we did that, we'd probably take a colony and a few peddlers. If we did nobles, we might be able to get more good things, like maybe draw platinums. We're gonna just do the monument thing. I don't think drawing with nobles is worth, because that's gonna mess with our setup for next hand, and we don't want to do that. Okay, next hand wasn't all that great. We probably should have done the draw, because we would have drawn the platinum and the 2 coppers, and we would have been sitting pretty. That's okay. We'll discard those just to get them out of my hair. Probably shouldn't have discarded them. They would have been worth more with bank. That was my mistake. And we're hitting 13, so we'll get another colony. And we don't have enough action cards in play to get more peddlers. Sad day. Alright, we're going to cantrip our Grand Market and our Peddler, and just play our Monument. Nothing too fancy schmancy here. You know what? I'm going to undo that, because I want a double Grand Market. And we can reach that with the Platinum and the Silver if we keep the Copper in hand. So we're going to double Grand Market here. You may discard 2 cards. I don't think it's worth here. I think Workers' Village giving us actions will allow us to play both our nobles and our vault. So I don't think it's worth here. All right. And I like having bank in my back pocket just in case we draw some good cards. Like a lot of treasures, hopefully. Okay. That's not too bad. I was afraid of that. I was afraid we were going to draw, dead draw some stuff with vault. But it's okay. We get some benefit out of it with vault. We can discard all of those. We're going to keep the coppers in hand. So that our banks are going to be worth more. So this first one's going to be worth 3, so it's going to bump us up to 4. Sorry, I didn't count the bank. It's going to be worth, we're going to bring us up to 17, and this other bank is going to bring us up to 22. Because the first bank was worth 4, second bank was worth 5. The first bank doesn't count any treasures that you play after it, so it's only counting the platinum, the 2 coppers, and the first bank. Second bank counts everything before it, but nothing after it. So it's counting the platinum, the 2 coppers, the first bank, and the second bank. So every bank that you play is going to be upgrading 1 value in cost. So that's what makes banks fun. We're going to get 2 colonies here, I think. And we're really far ahead of him, so we can kind of play around a little bit. That was a mistake. Undo, undo, undo. We had an additional buy. We want a peddler. Okay, discard. We don't want to do that. Peddler, Grand Market. Mill's not gonna get us anywhere with the discard, so we're just gonna cantrip it and use it to get the peddler into our hand. We're probably gonna dead draw some actions here. Yep, we absolutely did. And that copper probably wasn't worth it to dead draw all of that. We're gonna pick up another colony. He's so far behind right now that I don't think he can catch us even if he wanted to. Even if he had like a mega turn, I don't think he could catch us. But yes, we would love to discard some estates for a better hand. Thank you. And we're going to discard that colony and the copper. That's probably a mistake. That was a mistake. I should have discarded the nobles because I want to show off goons before the end of this. Goons, he discarded down to 3 cards in hand. That was the attack part. We get a buy and 2 coins, and while it's in play, when we buy a card, we get 1 victory point. I think we want to pick up another workers' village, and we'll get another copper, and both of those are going to give us 1 victory point. So I think getting the copper there was worth it, even though coppers are usually not all that good. We're going to discard the estate and the copper and try and get a better card. We got a peddler, which is not bad. Grand Market, peddler, monument, and we're going to hit 15 here. If we wanted to, we could end the game and we would win, because that, even without the 10 VP, that would empty the colony pile, and we would have 101 victory points, so we have 101 reasons to end the game right now, but we're not going to. We're so far ahead of him. We're just gonna play around with him a little bit. We're gonna play with our food here. We're gonna get a platinum and a nobles. If he hits 8, the bot is programmed so that they just want victory points near the end of the game, and they're just gonna get the best victory point available. So he might even end the game, even if he's losing this badly. He might buy a province if he reaches 8. He didn't. He reached 4. It looks like he bought a mill. So he's buying victory points. He bought the most expensive victory point card available, which was mill. He couldn't hit 5 for duchy. He couldn't hit 6 for harem or nobles. So he might actually end the game even though he's losing. When you're online, usually you don't want to end the game when you're losing unless it's like you know that you're not going to come back. I had a couple of games like that in my Dominion League match that I just played, where I knew I wasn't going to come back. I didn't have enough victory points on the board available. So I just resigned. There's a resign button up here in the client. And you can resign in a regular game as well, but usually that's not. Usually in a real game, you don't have these trackers, so you're not as confident about how many victory points you have versus your opponent, unless you're really paying attention. Something I wanted to note here. I pressed my autoplay treasures button. It only played my coppers. It didn't play my banks. And because of some of the treasures in the game don't autoplay when you click that button, because there are conditions where you wouldn't want to play them. In this case, we absolutely do want to play our banks. But there are treasures in some sets that you might not want to play. Usually you'd want to play them all. But the autoplay treasures button isn't smart enough to know when you want to play them. So instead, if bank was autoplayed and it played it before the copper, then the player would get really mad at the client. And so I think they just only autoplay these 4 treasures: the platinum, gold, silver, and copper. And platinum is only available in prosperity, so it really only plays gold, silver, and copper, and platinum if it's in the game. We're hitting 12 here. We're going to pick up 2 nobles. We're still playing with our food a little bit here. I don't think he can catch. Oh, wow. He's actually at 70. He's still only 27 behind us. He could catch us, actually. So we're not at such a high level that that we're untouchable. So we might want to actually end the game here pretty soon. Luckily, yeah, we're going to end the game here. Luckily, our monument would have kept feeding us victory points if we kept going, but we're going to end. And we hit 108 victory points, which is a very, very high number. Usually, you're not going to hit 108 victory points, even if in a colony game. But we played really well. We got a lot of nobles. We got some mills. And we got, I think, all of the colonies. We might have missed one. How many colonies? Yeah, we got 7 colonies. He got 1. He got 1. His main source of VP was from provinces. A few duchies.